Business owners, happy Veterans Day. The veterans out there, I appreciate you. My heart goes to you. My dad was a veteran from the Korean conflict. There's a friend of mine, a fatherly figure, who I love to death. I've known him and his wife since 2007. He was a missile man at Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri. Before I get into this message about quality, I'm going to show you just a couple placards. The rest of the data will be down in the description, because if I showed you all, it'd be a 20-minute video, and it's very difficult to keep your mind's eye on this. But this is very true, because what happened is a veteran who's been following me for many years. When I had videos, I had 3,036 videos at one time. I took them all down. I read you his letter, and this is the title of the video, and it will be down in this video as well in the description. QA expert Daryl Guberman receives email imploring him to expose ANSI-ANAB mission statement of half a nut fuck you done by Chairman-Russ Chaney in 2019, which you've heard before. I'm not going to play the audio file. I've got too much to do in this video right now. You'll hear it again in another video down below in the description. Also, again, QA expert Daryl Guberman receives email imploring him to expose ANSI-ANAB mission statement, have a nut fuck you, done by Russ Chaney, then 2019 chairman, and in 2022 he was the nominating chairman for the ANSI board for nomination. Board, federal agencies, and corporations. This video today is about ANSI's Russ Chaney, chairman. Half a nut fuck you mission statement exposes its board, federal agencies and corporations by QA expert Daryl Guberman. Before we get into this mess, and it is, I wanted to do a poem by Jean Lebray. You've heard this before in other videos, but this is really heartfelt and meant for those veterans, both men and women, who have my deepest respect always. From time to time, there appear on the face of this earth men and women of rare and consummate excellence who dazzle us by their virtues and whose quality shed a stupendous light like those extraordinary stars whose origins we are ignorant and whose fate, once they have vanished, we know even less. Such men and women neither have forbearers nor descendants, for ladies and gentlemen and veterans, you, my friends, are the whole of your race. Now we continue. In 2013, I gave a speech at the American Society for Quality. And the reason why I'm doing this, business owners, is because we had to go through the slings and arrows of people disparaging us all the time. All the time. In fact, even trying to sue us. And it's absolutely disgusting. Dave Levy, a Region 3 director for the American Society for Quality, came to that meeting to not disparage me, but to discredit me. He could not do it. It's my word again against his. And he basically said this. So this will tell you what he said to me. I don't need to say he said this, he said that. This is what he said when I was giving my speech during it. He said, Dave Levy, there is no restriction on you doing business unaccredited or accredited. And as I said before, ANAB has no problem with what you're doing. In fact, we support you, sir. Business owners, that's approval number one. Remember, ASQ, American Society for Quality, and ANSI, the American National Standards Institute, owned ANAB, the American National Crediting Board, 50-50. So I got a 50% approval. In 2016, when the heat was really getting hot in the kitchen for ANSI-ANAB, because we were exposing them on like a daily basis, really clocking in many videos, Randy Doughtery, at the time, was the technical advisor for ANAB. He was also the principal on the IAF, principal and treasurer on the IAF tax report 990. And this is what he sent us. He said, but we recognize and accept that there are conformity assessment bodies and accreditation bodies such as your body and your accreditation body that are not part of the IAF and ILAC structure. When we dug deeper, we discovered that the IAF and ILAC are basically components of ANAB. The American National Standards Institute and the American National Crediting Board are underwriters for IAF, International Accreditation Form, incorporated in Delaware, and ILAC, the International Laboratory Accreditation Cooperation. He further went on in this letter to invite us, and here goes the other component, to invite us to either join ANAB or IAF or both. I'm going to hold it here for a second. You can read it. This is in 2016, mind you. He was again a technical advisor for ANAB. He was the chairman, actually not the chairman, but he was the treasurer and principal on the IAF tax form. Business owners, how in good conscience could I join? Why would I want to join? You know, I've gotten approval. They want me to join over there. Dave Levy says approval here. So Randy being on ANAB, Dave Levy being on ASQ, 100% approval, but we didn't need that. ANSI is the American National Standards Institute, has both federal agencies and corporations on board. I showed you all this mess. Randy Doughtery, vice president of ANAB at the time in 2015, chairman of the IAF and also principal of the IAF, handed over leadership to Zhao Jinwu, who has been involved with our quality since 1994, business owners. He is also the chairman at the time of the China National Accreditation Services of Beijing, China. Okay, and he has been mandated by his country of origin, China, to take your data through China National Intelligence Law, Article number 7, which mandates espionage. ANSI took over complete control over ANAB in 2018. You have federal agencies and corporations on board. And the reason why, especially as Veterans Day, the reason why I didn't join ANAB or IAF or any of them is because I'm a proud American. They had a communist, a blatant communist who has China National Intelligence Law Article number 7 to take your data. What does that sound like to you? What would you do, veterans? Would you join that organization? I am sure as hell you would not. So let me continue with this, business owners, my fellow citizens, the veterans out there. This title, ANSI's Russ Chaney, chairman, half a nut fuck you mission statement exposes its board, federal agencies, and corporations by QA expert Daryl Guberman. Every thinking American who wants to leave the American way to their posterity must realize the inherent danger of interlocking directorates of government and private industry. We spent much time and effort in disclosing the existence of these un-American power and influence connections. Now it is time to explain and illustrate the impact of these conspiratorial connections on the common welfare. This table, as I showed you, this table illustrates ANSI, members of management, is a nonprofit, non-corporation, non-governmental agency. Actually, they are a corporation that harbors government agencies and private corporations. These are liaison of corruption, bribery, and control. This great scourge of poor quality and theft of national wealth via espionage and other nefarious activities has permeated our way of life, and for many, they take it as a commonplace, corruption and greed. What are you going to do about it? I hear that all the time. That's why I went down to ANSI in New York. That's why I picketed ANSI in Washington, D.C. on L Street at 1899 Northwest. Yes, and they have no identifying marks up on those buildings that say ANSI is in there. This is why we exposed this mess. My company is my family name: integrity, honesty, and the truth. We believe in competition. Do you, business owners? You have already been privy to corruption, collusion, anti-competitive activities with many board members who are also employees of federal agencies, of federal employees that also sit on these boards along with corporate employees. How does each of these people or persons, by the reason of his or her career, position, contribute the means to further the ends of un-American government-business alliance? Several organizations, the American National Standards Institute, the American National Crediting Board, the China-led between 2015 and 2021, the International Accreditation Forum incorporated in Delaware, NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, and also the Manufacturing Extension Partnership. which is part of the Department of Commerce, just to name a few, with video illustrations in the description, have been inserted into the American economy, Trojan horses to penetrate into both government and industry and bridle them together to huge monetary compensation to these board members under the guise of managing a standardized approach to quality, management, and product safety, and hoodwinking businesses, politicians, and others with the term voluntary consensus standards. The methods used by their front organizations like ANSI, ANAB, and IAF, Boeing, Lockheed, Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, to hoodwink the stockholders, the employees, the consumers of their products and services are simple, and they use the term the value of accredited certifications, not telling businesses, stockholders, employees how they are being watched over by Communist China via their supposed accredited certifications under ANSI-ANAB banner. And as I showed you in other videos, they have 10 different registrars in Communist China that can issue ANAB accredited certifications. What means of interlocking directorates of corruption to assure legal immunity from prosecution for their unethical, unfair, and aggressive exploitive practices is simple, ladies and gentlemen. It is simple, business owners. Once again, ANSI members of management have both federal agencies and corporations on board, thus giving them the sense of Teflon. That would be it. Private corporations on board. Example. Here goes an example. Boeing, a private corporation, places in procedures for suppliers that a third-party quality certification should be ANSI, ANAB, or international equivalent. And as I've told you in many videos, that international equivalent could be Iran, Pakistan, Russia, and others. Procurement Quality and Integration Team, July 1st, 2002, Boeing Quality Management Certification Registration and Survey Requirements. The preference is to deal with proven suppliers with excellent quality performance and not to have to do on-site quality survey audits, which means they're taking an AS9100 certificate and telling the customer or telling the supplier, don't worry, we're accepting flight safety parts with a piece of paper, an AS9100 certificate, which really doesn't make me confident because we've had a lot of failures. Look at the 737 MAX. Those organizations were AS9100 certified. Look at the 737 Boeing, the 787 Boeing, all have quality issues under the guise of quality certification. ANSI, ANAB, and others underneath the banner of IAF. And you know why I wouldn't join? Because of Communist China. I'm a proud American. How about you, business owners? Did your registrar tell you between 2015 and 21 that your organization was watched over by Communist China? Oh, wait, I got a letter, an email several years ago from this guy, Paul. He says, Daryl, ISO, that certification is a nuisance. We have to keep our balls in the air. Well, by him saying it, he has no balls in the air. Anyway, there was a Heads Up 22 written by ANAB in 2003 about the Online Aerospace Supplier Information System, OASIS. And it basically said, you tell me if it's about quality, business owners, I ask you. An AS9100 certified organization does not have the option to be excluded from the OASIS Online Aerospace Supplier Information System database. If an AS9100 certified organization refuses to be entered on the OASIS database or refuses to pay database fees, they're going to take your cert away. Now, is that quality? Honestly. Boeing sits on ANSI's members of management. Both ANSI and ANAB sit on each other's boards. ANSI took over complete control over ANAB in 2018. ANSI, ANAB both sit and sat on the communist-led IAF incorporated in Delaware between 2015 and 2021. Boeing also sits on ANAB's board that can grant, suspend, and withdraw accreditation from a registrar. Well, what happened with the 737 MAX, boys? 787, 777. Looks like something fell through the cracks, huh? Boeing, sitting on ANSI's members of management roster, sit next to the International Aerospace Quality Group, the FAA, the SAE, the FTC, the DOT, the FBI. The FAA seceded inspection in 2009 to Boeing to design, develop, build, and flight worthiness, more than likely, the 737 MAX. What did ANAB do in 3/7/2008? ANAB ANSI got warned by Boeing because their registrar responses concerning rejections were not coming through in a timely fashion. They did nothing about that because you know why? As I said, Boeing sits on ANSI, right over by ANAB. They're all sitting, and by the FAA, by the FTC, by the DOT. But it's absolutely deplorable. The tragic results of this league of unfettered greed upon the American economy has been what we all have seen: recalls in automotive, medical issues, failure up to including death, like look at Pfizer. They had a recall of 15 million vials of COVID vaccine for contamination. Also, skipping quality processes. Johnson & Johnson, 60 million vials of COVID, skipping quality processes, and they all sit on ANSI's board, right over by FAA, FTC, FDA, USDA, all these government agencies in bed, and there's not been one, ladies and gentlemen and business owners, that has not had their data taken. And here we go. The only way for resistance, opposition, and prosecution to turn this blight around is to separate federal agencies from nonprofit, non-governmental agencies like ANSI. Business leaders, my fellow citizens, you have to get stronger and say enough is enough. Or the next time you're sitting on a Boeing plane, because I have those articles too, where they got caught by the FAA, okay? They got caught by the FAA. It sounds like the steroids in baseball, when they, you got some of these people getting caught with steroids. They have to become sacrificial lambs to the general public, because how do you hit so many home runs? They're incentivized with chemical enhancements. Well, Boeing got caught fudging documentation along with their steel supplier, metal supplier, Kobe Steel. So next time you get on a plane, and God forbid it goes down, and they can't tell about the wreckage and how bad it is because they can't discern why it crashed, just think about that. And you'll find those down below this video as well. I am so sorry for the length of this, business owners, but this is Veterans Day. And for my veterans, my friends, and those who I don't know who are veterans, thank you so much for your service. The reason why I do this is because of integrity, honesty, and the truth. And you will hear in the body of this, in the description, you'll hear the rest of this mess. I look forward to hearing from you. 203-556-1493 or Daryl, TQRS, @yahoo.com. I thank you and have a wonderful, wonderful Veterans Day.